categories is books in Spanish, whether it's people using it as a first language or using it to learn Spanish.
I was just gonna ask, is it foreign language at the middle school?
As a class?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so, but I believe it might be done online, but I'd have to confirm that with staff.
So that could be a learning tool, so.
Absolutely, yeah. I know they'd had a Spanish teacher and then they'd fallen ill and it's a whole big thing, so I'll have to confirm that for you, but I can find an answer.
You know, if it is possible, it would be interesting to see those circulation numbers broken out individually, but I mean, if the system that we have doesn't allow
There are
for
limits to that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
suspect we could maybe watch those since they haven't been on camera yet.
Sure.
We can put them into a class together so that we can sort of pull data from that,
Yeah.
which might be good to know, just to see.
That's tricky, because I mean, like, one of my schools, we have all of our second language books in a specific spot, but then if they're looking for nonfiction, they're not, you know, it's not, you know, that
Yes.
section.
Yeah.
And so I can see, like, user complications, but, I mean, definitely a conversation. I would suggest taking back to your staff and looking at, you know, if there's a secondary way we can make that more portable, but.
Yeah, I
and
have
see
an
some of
idea,
the
I just have to
headaches.
check with tech services.
Yeah.
I also didn't include it with your handout as far as the circulation, but I printed it for the whole year just to see what those totals look like, just because I like the numbers and it's kind of fun. So across all of our libraries, we checked out, we had 106,000 checkouts across all the libraries.
Anything else for our director's report?
Yes, I'm just wondering still the status of getting the term limits of each board member on the library website.
We are still trying to find the time to get all of that in there. With the new website, there's a couple people who are able to make changes and we just have not gotten to it.
My frustration is that I feel like there can be changes with events so easily and so quickly, but not adding those term limits seems like it's having to jump through hoops. I just don't get it.
I'm not a website, I'm not one of the people who makes the changes, nor do I know how. I just know that.
I just think it's really important for our community to know our term limits and that we need to be aware of each other's term limits. It's important for the Century Code is very, very specific about terms of board members, and so for it to be this real gray area of not knowing when you started and when you stopped, it creates, like, how are people gonna be encouraged to wanna sit on the board? So I really think it's important for our terms to be on there. And I don't know, I think it's interesting to me, like, coming onto the board in July, we didn't like sign any paperwork or anything, there's nothing official, and so it's interesting, like, you're like, I don't know when I started, you know, and it's like, well then how will someone in our community know when they're gonna end and when that opportunity will be there? And so I think it's really important for our community and as a resource. And I know I keep banging that bell, but I think it's highly important. So I just wanted to mention it again.
It's on the list, I will just reiterate, we just got the website and we're still in learning.
You have the information prepared, like, the
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
figured out everyone's start, I know, but
Yeah,
like I said,
do have
honestly,
that.
myself, I didn't know my start date, because I thought like it was
I don't know if I
off
have your start
sometime.
dates, but I have the
But,
inspiration.
yeah, so we have the information now, it's
Yeah.
just on.
It's just a matter of getting it on the page.
Thank you, Renee. Anything else?
Yes, actually, I saw that link, sorry. There was a request about being able to have remote access for this meetings, and we just need to schedule that ahead of time. We can utilize Teams to do that.
So through the IT department, in this room, we can actually do the Teams meeting, but with that, they need at least a week's notice. So I know that when the board packet goes out, if somebody is going to need that access to be able to come through virtually, I need to know that right away, or let Renee know so that we can get that set up, because it takes time for them to just set that meeting up specifically to start at that time, and then, and put your email address and everything to give you the information to, call in. So I just wanted to make that announcement that we do have that now set up.
I just need to make a comment really quick, just from the very prior discussion of adding to the minutes. It has actually been confirmed, someone watched back the video, at home from someone in this meeting texting them, and the meeting was not adjourned until after Linda said what she said. So I don't know what needs to be done officially about that, but the meeting wasn't adjourned yet, so we need to revote and figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree. I mean,
Do we go by that video though, even though the board is not videoed? Because that's the same with anything that comes through that, you know, in different social media for any other boards. If it's not recorded, then it is what it is at the meeting.
The meeting technically wasn't adjourned until after you said what you said, whether it can be proved on the video or not.
Right, no, I'm not questioning that. What I'm questioning is the fact is, as a board, your meeting is not recorded. Your board is a board meeting, just like we have for the airport, different other boards, museum board and things like that. They're not recorded and things, so we have to be careful of using that and the recording in, you know, because we don't record officially a board meeting. So that's why I was just saying that. I just, you know, I it's up to the board what they wanna do for the minutes and everything. I just wanna make that clear that we have to be kind of careful when we say, it's an official, or making it official that it's recorded when we don't do that as a board. That's all I'm saying.
I'd like to review that, I'd like to review the video, and we can, I'd actually like us to reconsider approval of the meeting minutes, for the December 12th meeting, and then table approval of those minutes so that we can all review the video. And then we can make changes to the
I
minutes.
can tell you exactly when Linda said what she said and when the.
Sure, and that's fine, I think it's like, I think the appropriate, approach to this is, whoever made the motion, to approve the minutes can ask for it to be reconsidered. And then, once we reconsider it, we can table it. And then we can approve those minutes with changes at the next meeting, after we review the video. Any objections?
No objection to that.
Need a second for that?
Well, whoever made the motion has to make the motion to reconsider.
I said so moved to your motion. Yeah, that's probably me, that's probably me making. the
Scroll back
motion.
up.
So I move we reconsider the motion of approving the minutes.
Yeah, you're rescinding your motion.
Yeah, I
Yeah, we
move
got-
I move to rescind the motion of approving the minutes today.
No, it doesn't say make the motion.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
And let's do a roll call vote on that. So board member Waterman.
Aye.
Cock.
Aye.
Freeze.
Aye.
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 And aye for me, so we will,
So now the minutes are back under consideration, and we would need a motion to table the minutes to the next meeting.
I make a motion to table the minutes to be reviewed by video for the next meeting.
I'll second that.
discussion, will you be able to get that video and send it to the board?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Alright, motion carries. unfinished business, our code of conduct. Board member Cop or Ho, if you want to talk about the work that you did with that document.
Yeah, we had this put together. There was just a couple wording changes I made from our initial one to remove things like, we had directors in there a couple times, change that over to members. Otherwise, the document is the same as what we reviewed before, but I did print out a new one for this time with those, just a couple word changes as far as saying board members in every specific place instead of a different word, just to stay uniform throughout the document.
I have to say, in actually reviewing, the code of conduct, as I sat at home, I had quite a few questions, about the way that certain things are worded and how that matches up to century code and what that would look like. And so I don't know how we go about making those changes, or me suggesting that those changes are made.
I think this discussion would be the time to do that.
So these are bullet pointed. The sixth bullet point says, accept and perform all duties and functions within the bylaws, and I think it's very important that, as far as my understanding, century code trumps the bylaws, and so that should be century code, in there, in my opinion. Or both.
We fine with both?
Yeah, both would be good.
Bullet point 14, after the comma, I would say that we should probably strike everything after the comma, because, there might be situations where there is a disciplinary action towards the library director or something like that. That's a very broad statement to say we'll never undermine the authority of the library director, because there might be a situation where we have to undermine the authority of the library director because they've done something inappropriate.
Then that wouldn't be undermining them, that would be doing our job.
Okay, but.
No, I
but-
agree,
But the
and that was
language
my
there
next.
is, we just wanna make sure that like, because that undermining could be a very subjective thing, it's not a very objective word, and so.
And the word never is used there, which
Yeah.
is like, that paralyzes us as a board, and I
Correct.
don't think that's wise.
And so if there's something that we have to talk to the library director about at a board meeting about, hey, we'd like you to adjust the way that you're, maybe pursuing this agenda item or this project, that could potentially be seen as undermining. And so if we're gonna say we're never gonna undermine the authority of the library director, they have the authority over the staff, and we have the authority over the library director, and so, to a limited extent, but still to an extent. And so, I think it's important for us not to handcuff ourselves along those lines. I agree with the first portion of that bullet point, but I think we wanna be really careful on that second part.
So strike everything after the comma, correct?
Yeah, so after well-managed, comma, turn the comma into a period,
I also think
or a semicolon.
the board's responsibility is actually to supervise. It says in Article 3, Section 3, the board shall employ and supervise a qualified library director. So our job is to supervise them, which gives us ultimate, authority over overseeing that. And so I agree 100% with, striking that second. I know that I have, it's just the bullet point right underneath that last one spoken about. I know that I have said this multiple times. That line says represent all users and potential users of the library equitably. And, I read that as we are here to represent, the users of the library, our community. And I'm really trying to still, grapple with a way of how we are hearing from our community. If we are not allowing public comment at the end of board meetings, and we're just getting emails sent to the staff, but we never see those emails, then are we truly doing our job in representing all the users and potential users of our library here? So I don't know if we take that out, or, I don't know. But to me, it's part of our job to represent them, but if we're not educated about those emails and we don't get to see them, maybe that should change so that we can represent them well, or to know each request that comes in for a book each month, to see those requests so that we can represent our community well. Those are things, I feel like if we're gonna say it, then we need to have certain things written into policy where we're able to do it.
Responding to that one, I would say that that would be more of the library that's in this duties where they have their policies in place, that it accomplishes this in theirs, and then this is our part of that, what we bring up at the board meetings and at our level, that we're representing equitably.
But you kind of see where she's coming from, because like the bullet point immediately preceding that is recognize that the board's responsibility is to ensure the library is well managed. If we don't have all the information, how are we ensuring that the library is well managed?
If we have to be privy to every single thing that happens, though, we're managing at the individual level, not letting the library staff actually do their job at that point, if we take it to that level.
I don't think
Yeah,
it's doing their
I don't
job.
think that's what she's saying at all. I don't think she's saying that like we need to know day-to-day operational things. I think it's, and maybe, I know there's probably people that don't wanna hear this, but I wouldn't be opposed to, if we have the time, public comment at our meetings.
I have suggested it multiple times.
If I've gotta deal with it at city commission meetings, I don't see why we, I don't mean that flippantly. I appreciate the public comment at our city commission meetings. If I have to, as a city commissioner, an elected official, have to listen to criticisms or feedback from the community that maybe I don't wanna hear, those of us on this library board should be willing to hear the same. And I know sometimes it can make us uncomfortable, but that's kind of what we signed up for.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I think if you oversee any part of city government, which would be technically the library, and you're not open to hearing citizens' comments, good or bad, how will we know to do better in the future? Or, to make change for positive, one way or another? I just think, if we're gonna represent it well, I agree, but it was voted as no. So
And-
we can motion again for it.
And we could potentially, I'm open to putting this on the agenda for a longer conversation at a future meeting, but like, you could even limit it, hey, we're gonna have public comment. I actually think that with the increased attention that these meetings have seen, it's potentially not a bad idea for us to move up the start time or extend the length of the meeting, in some way, whether that be moving startup time or, pushing it back to being scheduled from 4 to 5:30. There's a lot of business here that sometimes is not always just, allow itself to be done in an hour. And so, I don't think there would be any issue with potentially limiting that, and then respectfully asking those who bring public comment to, limit their comments to a certain amount of time. And that's done in, Robert's Rules of Orders meetings everywhere. If you go to an NDGOP meeting, they limit conversation on different resolutions and stuff like that to we're gonna limit to a half an hour, and if you speak, you can speak for 5 minutes on that topic, and that's it. And so like, I think there is some potentially beneficial middle ground that we could be here. Because I think that Mrs. Ho is speaking to something that we are hearing time and time again, and, we should have a conversation about it, and we're talking about the code of conduct here.
I was just gonna
But,
say,
yeah.
put it on next month's
Yeah, I think we should.
revisiting under old business potentially, since that was a conversation we've had.
Yeah.
And just have a deeper conversation about that, what it can and should look like, and get back to our code of conduct. I am more than okay with that.
Cause the less we're willing to communicate with the community, the more it looks like we have something to hide, whether we have something to hide or not. So. And we might build some relationships and, you know, like, yeah.
I just wanted to make a suggestion. I know that we have other things on the agenda, but I felt like I still would like to look this over one more time. I don't know if there's a rush, like the collection development policy, but this is, the code of ethics, I feel like we should look at this with a fine tooth comb. And I would love to table approving it from today's meeting, just personally, so that I have another month to truly look over this in more depth, because honestly, when Ryan and I sat down and we wrote it out, I didn't see anything, and then when I looked at it again, I saw things, so I personally would like, to have that freedom to table it today, if I can motion for that.
Point of order, you can only have one motion on the table at any time, so we have to postpone this motion. This is a Robert's Rules of Order thing. You can only have one motion on the table at any given time.
So what's the
Someone
motion?
motion something else?
What's the motion?
The minutes is on the table.
What do we table that?
Yeah, no, it's on the table.
Oh, sure,
You can
sure.
make a motion
Yeah.
for a motion to go on the table, and you're only allowed to have one motion on the table at any given time.
Well, so that we just don't act on this.
Well, no, we just postpone. There's another
Yeah,
motion we can
yeah.
make. We move to postpone.
Okay,
I move to postpone, please.
yeah, thank you.
I'll second. Any discussion on postponing? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Alright, motion carries.
I do wanna thank the two of you for your work on this, cause I mean, it is a great start. There's some changes that obviously need to be made, but nice work.
Alright, looking at new business, we have our library director candidates. Linda, is this?
Yep.
Perfect.
So with the, going through the applicants and getting everything done through the background check and everything, a conditional offer was proposed to Mr. Ian. And, he did sign it on January 8th, upon which it says, as the library director, and to outline the start date and salary, and the offer is contingent upon the approval of your hire by the library board, and then the board of city commission reviews the recommendation from the board. So with that, I would introduce you to Ian, and he can give you a little bit of his background, and the board has the right to ask questions and things like that, and then, I would recommend an approval of a recommendation from the library board to go forward as, that for the January 23rd commission meeting, to get a vote from the city commission, to approve it, and then it states in here that Monday, February 12th would be his starting date.
Just a quick clarification before I let you have the mic. Can you talk about the interview process? Who was involved in the process prior to coming down to this selection?
The applicants, we had, two applicants, and we had library staff, Renee was in there, we had two, board members, Brian and Troy were both on there, and then we had, HR, and yes, her and HR were the interview panel. I'm sure I'll get this question, why did I, choose the two board members that I did? Knowing that, the board members have been here, for a while, and they, understand the interview process, they've been through it before, and with that, I did use the same two people that we had, Brian and Troy, for the interview panel, due to the fact that they were there for a year ago, and they were most experienced.
Clarification, it was not on the
Oh.
last interview. I think it was Jana was president at the time. And I
Oh,
think she
Jana.
sat- Yep, she sat on the interview.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yep,
See,
no
I
worries.
can't remember nothing, on that, so, did I answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay, and it was, about an hour, interview process, and then it goes through the panel discussed it, and we made a decision, and then, HR takes over from there, and that's when they do the background and everything, it's an extensive, background check, reference checks, and then an offer was put on the table. I hope that satisfies you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Well, good evening. As Linda said, I'm Ian Algiano, your prospective library director. I currently serve as the McKinney County Public Library Director. If you've been around our library in the last 5 or so years, you've likely seen me before. I worked here at the Dickinson Area Public Library